I just wanted to give a quick tour of how this ceiling, freezer room, door is coming. I just wanted to say that, you know, when you start building these things custom, like doors, door jambs, um, panels, every aspect of it, you don't realize, but it's so much more time consuming than if you just went and bought a door. For an example, this door right here, this door is probably at least twice as heavy and certainly twice as dense as any door I could have possibly bought. Just one example. And of course, to build a door like this takes, could take a day really, especially when you factor in building your own jamb and the whole installation process. I still have to build this door. This door will just have, see how this one's got the bead board on one side, and then on the other side it has the T111 siding, which matches up with the rest of the siding. Matter of fact, let's close it, give you an idea. So when this door is closed, essentially it just looks like a solid wall. So it all looks exactly the same. You almost don't even know there's a door there, unless you're up close. And of course you can see hinges, and I will make a handle for it, just like I made this handle for this side for that handle. I could have trimmed out the edge so you don't have the groove from the T111 siding, but it's not necessary. I can always do it later if I decide to, but probably won't paint them really good in there, so that won't be a problem. And essentially the jamb here is pretty much just 2x4s. Just cut them how I needed to, routed them out, so forth and so on, which of course saves a lot of money in trim. Right, Frank?
Yep.
Frank likes pulling grass out of the driveway. And then this has been a solid 3 coats of paint to cover this properly. I mean, there's still some trim work I gotta do and finish, and then paint work I gotta finish. There's a couple other small things here and there other than this door. I gotta repaint the floor in this area where stuff kind of dripped down. I had to cut it in anyhow so I could cut it back to the wall in order for it to be sealed properly. Otherwise, if you don't do that, especially on a room like this, and especially on the outside of the room, what inevitably happens is water will get pulled up onto the bottom of that T111 siding, and this way you have some protection against that. So you paint down onto in this case the deck, and then I'll cut back up against to the wall. So you'll literally have a paint seal that will help to protect water from penetrating in it and then absorbing up into the siding. I made my own latch. That's the block I made for the latch. And here's the little latch right here, which will get screwed onto that block. And then I'm just going to make a little groove into here, wherever it lines up. And then I have down in my tool shop that isn't finished, I have some door, not really sure of the exact name of it, but it's the rubber material or styrofoam, whatever the material is, rubber, a combination of rubber, styrofoam, I don't know. But essentially gets attached to right here. Let me hold it with my other hand. Gets attached to here and here, and of course up here. So that way when this door shuts, it will have a tight seal for rain, water, and air leaks and such. And then I have an oak threshold, which will create a small lip down there in between in the doorway, which I'll use and seal and paint it or whatever. That piece of 2x4 there, I'm probably just going to leave that as the threshold, although I do have a bunch of them down there, so I might change my mind. This door will also be extremely solid. Essentially, it'll be built both sides with the, like I said, with the beadboard, and then there'll be MDF and 2x4s in between, so the door will be pretty much a solid door. And there ain't too much that's going to get through that door. It would take an extreme amount of force over and over and over, and it would be quite the job. I honestly wouldn't be fearful if there was a grizzly bear standing on the outside of this door, that he would be getting in through that anytime soon. It would take a long time, a lot of effort. Right, Frank? Right. Anyhow, just thought I'd give you a tour, and oh yeah, so I'll post this on YouTube so you all can see. Considering possibly before this season is out, getting plexiglass, heavy duty thick plexiglass, and building 4x8 sheets of it, and building a complete glass wall here made out of plexiglass. And then from the railing up will be T111 siding that'll get attached to the back of that, so it'll be half wall, and then this whole upper section will be essentially a glass, and in this case plexiglass wall all the way across. So you'll be able to see right through there, just like looking through glass. As long as you don't scratch it, it will stay just like glass. And this particular stuff that I'm looking at, it's heavy duty, so it should withstand. But I still have my building to finish down there, as you can see. It's just been too many other projects, but I will get to it. I need to get to it. It needs to get finished before the winter so I can put my tools in there. And then if you look down there, just for all of you on YouTube, we had a tornado come through here, ripped that tarp off the roof, there's several trees right there, and then on the other side of the chicken coop is at least a half a dozen, possibly more trees that got knocked over. Knocked down some vegetables in the garden, but it knocked down all the corn. It didn't break it at the stem, but it knocked it all down. It was almost laid down completely flat. So me and Frank spent better part of a half a day, if not more, repairing it. And then it took the top of that tree and threw it against the corner of his house and hit his deck and did a little bit of damage. So you can see he's fixing the hand railing and stuff over there. And did a bunch of other damage in the neighborhood, but it was periodic. It was like, I don't think it completely touched down. I think it was close to touching down, but it was jumping. So it jumped from there, and it hit the back of the garden and his tree, and then it jumped up the street a ways, and then it jumped a little further, and knocking down trees. It wasn't a consistent path. But yeah, it ripped that tarp right off the roof. You can see some of the damage over there. See the piles of debris? That's actually from that tornado. Tops of them trees got knocked down over there as well. Those big trees, there's 2 or 3 of them right there together that got just pushed over, completely uprooted, pushed over and down onto the ground.